At the end of a full Friday, sermon writing, service planning, kids club leading at the end of the day, sometimes there's just not enough time to prepare a nice meal for dinner in our house. And so sometimes what I will do, and forgive me for this, is that after I leave this place, I will drive down the Great Western Highway, turn into that little fine establishment with the big yellow arches, and I will get a drive-through Big Mac meal. And I was there the other day, and a large Big Mac meal cost almost $15. Now, I get that cost of living pressures have increased, and I know I sound like a grandpa, but back in my day, I remember when you could get a large Big Mac meal for $5. So before I even ate it, I had a bad taste in my mouth. And then I ate it, of course, and I was doubly dissatisfied. And I hear Isaiah 55. Why do you spend money on what is not food and your wages on what does not satisfy? I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's quick, it's easy, it's convenient. Even though I know it will leave a bad taste in my mouth, it will leave me dissatisfied and wanting more, but I keep returning to it. And we all do. Well, maybe not with McDonald's, but we all do it in all sorts of ways in life. We return to certain relationships or toys or gadgets or holidays or concerts or experiences that get the adrenaline going just to experience some kind of fun and joy and pleasure in a hectic, dissatisfying life. And those things do give us that satisfaction momentarily. And then we are left feeling that satisfaction ultimately is as elusive as trying to keep hold of water in the palm of your hands. It leaks. It leaks, and we want more. The Rolling Stones, I know I'm showing my age again, once wrote a song called I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Some of you who are much younger than me will have no idea about the lyrics of that song, but they do echo in nearly every pop song still today, from Billie Eilish to Taylor Swift. It's all about how dissatisfying life can be. And maybe this morning you know this reality personally. I can't get no satisfaction. Well, there is good news that I want to share with you this morning. Isaiah 55 says you can have satisfaction, but not in the normal places that you might be looking. Isaiah chapter 55 really closes what many experts call the second major section of the book of Isaiah, which is chapter 40 through to chapter 55. And one of the common themes in this section is this hope of peace and comfort that is available to God's people. The first half of the book, chapter 1 to 39, is really about God's judgment coming upon his people for their rebellion and their apostasy. But chapter 40 to 55, there's hope. God's not finished with his people. There is comfort, there is peace. Chapter 40 and 41, God announces that peace. Last week, chapter 42 to chapter 53, we see how that peace is accomplished, which is by the work of the servant of the Lord on behalf of his people. And really, chapter 55 today shows us how the work can be applied to God's people back then and still today. The first thing that I want you to see from Isaiah chapter 55 is this invitation to come and to drink. It's an open door invitation. Let me read it to you again, verses 1 to 3. An invitation to the dissatisfied. Come, everyone who is thirsty, come to the waters, and you without money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why do you spend money on what is not food and your wages on what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, eat what is good, and you will enjoy the choicest of foods. Pay attention and come to me. Listen so that you will live. 5 times God invites his people. Come, come, come. And as I read these verses, I can't help but think of a Middle Eastern or an African marketplace where there's so many people saying, come, buy from me. I've got what you're looking for. Come, come, come. And of course, in the marketplace of life, there are many voices trying to get us to come to them and buy what they're selling to get satisfaction in life. And it's into that marketplace that the voice of God also calls and says, no, come to me. Come to me, come and drink, eat the choicest of foods. And even better than that, you can come without money. It doesn't cost you a thing. What I am giving you, it is free. What is it? What is this free water, this choice food that God is inviting people to have? Well, as we read on from verse 3, we see it's got less to do with our stomachs and more to do with our souls. It's got less to do with our stomachs and more to do with our souls. Let's keep reading verse 3. God says, I will make an everlasting covenant with you. The promises assured to David. Since I have made him a witness to the peoples, a leader and commander for the peoples, so you will summon a nation you do not know, and nations who do not know you will run to you. For the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, has glorified you. Now, what is God saying there? It's all a little bit confusing. He's saying to his people, remember when I made that wonderful promise to King David all those years ago? A promise that there will come a king, a descendant of David, whom I will love forever, and he will rule on a throne forever. Do you remember that promise? And God says, I've got a guy coming. And you, my people, will be included in the blessings of that love and life and leadership forever. And to a group of people living in exile as slaves in Babylon with no king, this is a stunning word of promise and hope. A new leader, a new impact, the glory of God returning to his people. It's a beautiful image that no doubt would have stoked a sense of hope for them. But for you and I, it's not just a word of hope, it's actually reality. Because when we get to the New Testament and Acts chapter 13, Paul quotes this verse and says, it has been fulfilled. So let me show you. In Acts chapter 13, as Paul is preaching in a Jewish synagogue, he says this to his people. And we ourselves proclaim to you the good news of the promise that was made to our ancestors. God has fulfilled this for us, their children, by raising up Jesus. As it is written in the second Psalm, you are my son, today I have become your father. Since he raised him from the dead, never to return to decay, he has spoken in this way, quoting Isaiah 55 verse 3, I will grant to you the faithful covenant blessings made to David. The covenant blessings of life and love and relationship with God forever is now available, says Paul. And the grounds of this blessing now being made available to the people, he makes very clear just a couple of verses later in Acts chapter 13, verses 38, where he says, therefore, let it be known to you, brothers, that through this man, Jesus, the true son of David, through this man, forgiveness of sins is being proclaimed to you. And so, friends, ultimately, the invitation that is held out by God in Isaiah chapter 55 is ultimately an invitation to come and drink forgiveness. To come and drink forgiveness. And the satisfaction, the refreshment that this drink brings is the reality that you are now known and loved and secure in a relationship with God forever, just as God promised David all those years ago. And Jesus knew this. He knew this about himself and he knew this about his ministry. And so one time when Jesus was standing in the temple at a great feast, where there's lots of eating and drinking. In John chapter 7, he stands up and he calls out Isaiah 55 and says, if anyone is thirsty, he should come to me and drink, says Jesus. Jesus is the divine voice of Isaiah 55. Come to me for forgiveness, for life, for covenant love and blessing forever. And what he offers is free. We don't need to pay for it because he's already paid for it on our behalf. There was a movement many years ago called the Pay It Forward movement, where people would pull up into a drive-through, whether Macca's or somewhere else, and they would, out of their generosity, offer to pay it forward, pay for the meal of the people that are coming behind. I don't know why it's called pay it forward when they're coming from behind. Anyway, they would pay it forward for the people behind them. And so when they would get up to the window, they'd say, somebody's already paid it before you even got here. It was a nice act of generosity. Well, that's what Jesus has done for us all, spiritually speaking. He has paid it forward in terms of our forgiveness. He has lived the perfect life. He's died the death that we deserve for our sins. We saw that last week. And he has risen again, never to decay, so that the forgiveness that he holds out is truly free and forever. And so the question is, have you come? You hear the invitation? Come and drink. You can find life and love and forgiveness forever. Do you want it? Jesus is calling that out to us this morning. Come and drink. But how do you do that? What does that look like? Well, that's the second thing that I want you to see from verses 6 to 11 of Isaiah chapter 55. Coming and drinking means turning and trusting. Turning and trusting. Have a look at verse 6 of Isaiah 55. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call to him while he is near. Let the wicked one abandon his way and the sinful one his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord so he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will freely forgive. In other words, before we can drink from the living water, there must be an abandoning of other waters. A turning away from wells that we once went back to again and again and again for satisfaction. We must turn away from them. And I don't know what they are for you, but I'm sure you know what they have been for you. And God says, abandon those ways, leave those wells behind. And then secondly, there is a turning to. There is a returning to the Lord, a seeking him, a calling out to him. And that movement also involves trust. A trust that when you return to the Lord, that he will freely forgive you if you turn back to him. And God assures his people of that reality. He says, if you return to me, I will forgive you freely. And then he expands on the reason for that. If you have a look at the next verse, verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. This is the Lord's declaration. For as heaven is higher than earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And often this verse gets trotted out as a nice comforting verse to those who are suffering. You know, I know you're going through a hard time, but remember, God's ways are higher than your ways. His thoughts are higher than your thoughts. And I guess that's not inappropriate, but that's not the context of this particular verse. This verse is in the context of God's free forgiveness, which is the immediate verse before this. And so I think what God is saying is, you may think because of what you thought or said or done in the past that you could never be. I can't even think of a way that I could ever be forgiven. And God says, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways. You can't fathom just how merciful I can be if you turn back to me. There is always forgiveness. And he just continues building that foundation of assurance in the very next couple of verses. because God always does what God says. Verse 10. For just as rain and snow fall from heaven and do not return there without saturating the earth and making it germinate and sprout and providing seed to sow and food to eat, so my word that comes from my mouth will not return to me empty, but it will accomplish what I please and it will prosper in what I send it to do. You can trust me, says God. I mean, back in Isaiah chapter 40, we already heard that God's word, unlike the flowers of the field which fade, his word endures forever. And this is just another way of saying the same kind of thing. His word is never empty. When God says something, he will do it. If God says, come to me and I will forgive you, he will. His word is always trustworthy. Turn and trust. And Jesus says the exact same thing. In John chapter 14, some of the most famous words of Jesus, he says to his people, your heart must not be troubled. Believe or trust in God. Believe or trust also in me, says Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And so again, Jesus, just like he did in John chapter 7, come all you who are thirsty. Here he is saying, will you trust me? Will you trust me? I alone can offer you life and love and forgiveness forever. Will you trust me? I don't know if you remember the Pixar movie, I think it was Pixar, Monsters, Inc. Wonderful little kids' animation story where there are these magical doors, these special doors, because there's kind of two universes. There's the monsters world and then there's the real world. And the monsters can interact with the real world, but they have to go through these doors to get there. And then there's the whole movie is built around this principle where there's a baby from the real world that somehow smuggled her way in to the monsters world, which caused a whole lot of mayhem. And then Mike and Sully, the main characters, have to get this baby back to their house. But there's only one door that will get them back to the right place. And so the whole movie is built around this, trying to find the right doorway to get Baby Boo home, because there is only one right door. Well, when it comes to life, there is only one door to life and love and forgiveness forever. And Jesus says, I am the door. And so he says, the door is open, but you need to walk through it. You need to trust me. You hear my voice saying, come, I'm calling you, but you have to walk. You have to trust me. Do you? Well, what's that life going to look like if you walk through that door? If you turn away from wells that you've been going back to maybe for years looking for some satisfaction and you know that they leave a bad taste in your mouth and you turn to Jesus, the door is open, he says, come and drink, trust me. If you do, what's that life going to look like? This is my third point. Go and sing. Come and drink, turn and trust, go and sing. If you are thirsty and you have a glass of ice cold water, or maybe room temperature water if you don't like ice cold water, there is almost an immediate refreshment, isn't there, that comes from drinking. And Isaiah 55 says, so it is with the experience of those who turn and drink and trust God. Have a look at verse 12. You will indeed go out with joy and be peacefully guided, and the mountains and the hills will break into singing before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. It's a beautiful picture of happiness and security and peace and joy. And the exiles living in Babylon could only long for such a day. I mean, I can't even picture what the trees of the field clapping their hands might be, but it's just evoking this sense of celebration and happiness. But you and I can, to some degree, live this reality and relationship with God right now. It's not just something for the future, it's something that we can experience right now. So again, Paul, in Philippians chapter 4 says to Christians and to you and I this morning, rejoice in the Lord always. And in case we didn't hear him, I will say it again, rejoice. Now notice he doesn't just say rejoice always, as if there's never a time to be sad or whatever it might be. No, he says rejoice in the Lord always. Why? Well, just a bit further down, he says, because the Lord is near. No matter what you're going through in life, Paul says you can still rejoice because you're not alone. The Lord is near. He is with you. He loves you. He has sent his son for you, who has died for you. The forgiveness that you can experience is real right now, and that can stoke in your soul joy. And it can also reframe even the most difficult of situations that you might find yourself in. And so Paul says this, don't worry about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all thought, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Yes, walking through that door, trusting Jesus, drinking from his well, doesn't mean necessarily that life is just suddenly going to become perfect for you. There will be difficulty and challenge, but the joy that you can still have is that you're not alone, that God is with you. You can talk to him. You can give each of your situations to him, and you can trust him because he is God. But there will come a day when what we experience by faith, we will experience by sight. And God promised this to Isaiah at the end of this chapter. Verse 13, have a look at it again. Instead of the thorn bush, a cypress will come up. Instead of the briar, a myrtle will come up. It will make a name for Yahweh as an everlasting sign that will not be destroyed. It's a beautiful picture of creation itself experiencing the renewal that God's people can have right now. You know, the thorn bush and the briar, symbols of pain and suffering in this world. And I know that you know what they are in your own life, but one day they will be gone. And I love the picture at the end of Book of Revelation where Jesus wipes away the tears of his people. There is no pain and suffering. And that beautiful vision is, yes, still to come. And we're going to hear more about that next week as we come to the end of the book of Isaiah. But even that vision can stoke a sense of joy in the present, going, I know that this is not the end, that there is something better still to come. If you walk through that door, if you come and drink, if you turn and trust, there is a real joy that you can have in the present. You can go and sing because the forgiveness of sins that you can experience is right now. Praying to God and entrusting your situations to him is something you can do right now. The presence of God guiding you in peace is something you can have right now. And then, of course, there is this beautiful vision of a renewed creation that still awaits us. Go and sing. And so I want to finish this morning by telling you another story. This is a story from C.S. Lewis's book, The Silver Chair. And it's about a character called Jill. I know there's a Jill here, but this is not to do with you particularly, Jill. In The Silver Chair, Jill enters a strange forest in the land of Narnia. But due to poor judgment, she finds herself alone in the woods, and she's very thirsty, searching for water. She finds a stream, but she stops dead in her tracks as there is a lion on the bank of this stream. It's Aslan, is the Christ-like figure of Narnia. If you're thirsty, you may drink. For a second, she stared there and here, wondering who had spoken. Then the voice said again, if you are thirsty, come and drink. It was deeper, wilder, and stronger, a sort of heavy, golden voice. It did not make her any less frightened than she had been before, but it made her frightened in a different way. Are you not thirsty? Said the lion. I am dying of thirst, said Jill. Then drink, said the lion. Will you promise not to do anything to me if I do come? Said Jill. I make no promise, said the lion. I daren't come and drink then, said Jill. Then you will die of thirst, said the lion. Oh dear, said Jill, coming another step nearer. I suppose I must go and look for another stream then. There is no other stream, said the lion. So she went forward to the stream, knelt down, and began scooping up the water in her hand. It was the coldest, most refreshing water she had ever tasted. You didn't need to drink much of it, for it quenched your thirst at once. The Rolling Stones may have sung all those years ago, I can't get no satisfaction. It's because they were looking in the wrong place. There is only one stream of life giving water that truly satisfies, and Jesus is his name. But maybe like Jill in that story, you're afraid. You want to bargain first. Promise me that you won't do anything to me. Promise me that you won't change me if I come and drink. He makes no such promises. In fact, what God will do to you and the change that he will make in you is for your good. There is no other stream. Will you come